This episode is sponsored by Monkey Stuff. Monkey Stuff makes things for makers. We're inspired every day by the craft and creativity of makers, and design and manufacture tools and accessories to try to make your making life a bit more delightful. Our products are designed in California, by makers and for makers, and manufactured in the USA. Check out our line of pottery accessories and tools at monkeystuff.com. Follow us on Instagram to see what we're up to in our studios, and keep on making great things.
This episode is brought to you by Cornell Studio Supply, located in the Gem City of Dayton, Ohio. Find all your pottery and ceramic sculpture equipment and supplies with the best customer service and world-class workshops. Join us January 16th through the 18th, 2026 for a colored clay and material inclusion workshop with Chris Alvashir and Jillian Park. Visit cornellstudiosupply.com to sign up. Cornell Studio Supply, owned and operated for potters by potters.
Hello, my name is Kathy King, and welcome to the For Flux Sake podcast. I'm coming to you from the Harvard Ceramics program in our fair city, Allston, Massachusetts. I'm here with Rose and Matt Katz of the world-famous Ceramic Materials Workshop, and they are ready to answer your burning questions about clay and glaze. Happy New Year, Matt and Rose.
Oh my God, it's the new year. How is that possible?
Happy New Year, I guess.
I don't know. Hopefully it won't be as big of a dumpster fire.
It'll be a smaller dumpster fire, trash can fire.
That's all we can hope for. Yeah.
Just a trash can fire.
Dude, we don't even dare to dream anymore. So, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, how was your holiday season?
It was good. Yeah, it's always good. We get to see family, and that's always amazing.
Yeah. We live out in the woods with most of my family, so Rose gets to see her family during the holidays, so she enjoys that.
Yeah.
Refreshing drama as opposed to normal drama.
No.
No.
You guys want the weirdest thing?
Yeah.
Rose and her family get along.
We don't
Stop
have
the
drama.
presses.
I believe it.
It's you guys, it's so weird. They all like each other. They spend quality time together, and there's no shouting. It's unnatural. It's unnatural, to be honest.
Good for your children, I suppose. That's probably good for them to have that role models. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, we got some rest, but after the heavy show and sale season that I'm sure many studios had out there, but this one was particularly wild.
We don't talk about this too much, but probably the number one thing that affects when we're able to get together to do podcasts is the show and sale. Like literally, Kathy will just block off the month of December and be like, "I'm not talking to any of you."
Exactly. Don't
I
even
got show
try.
and sale to deal with.
Well, it is. I mean, despite being, associated with Harvard, we are, the majority of our budget is through registration. So the doing these shows and sale is one of our two biggest fundraisers for the year. And so we have 102 artists, and they exhibit over the course of a week, and they retain 60% of the sales, and we take 40%. So it's super important. But the thing that I noticed, and I talked to a number of different studios that had record-breaking sales this year, and I was like,
"That's awesome!
What the heck? Why?" And I just in talking to people, definitely the trend was you can't buy an original gift for or a unique gift for anybody anymore. It's like everything's so accessible. So to be able to get something handmade, you see a lot of people getting office gifts or holiday gifts. But And that was great. And they're also looking for a bargain. I mean, let's not, kid ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. The fact that, they could buy a handmade mug for $25, and I'm trying to tell my people, that's our minimum, and I'm trying to tell my people, you spent more making that, or having us do all this. If you added it all together in a real time, like your own studio, it's like, you would put your prices up. But all of our people did a good job in just like inching up a little bit. But the thing that disturbed me the most was what people were willing to buy. And
how low are their standards?
Well, nothing against my amazing people, but you can't see everything when you're working with like hundreds of, maybe like 150 pots in your display. We had a case where a woman had come up to the cash register and she had this piece. It was like a jar that had a seashell knob on it, and it had blue glazes on it, looked really beachy. And she brought it up, and, we're all working the sales. So the cashier, who's one of our instructors, said, listen, there's a big piece of shivered glaze off, missing off of the lid. And she's like, yeah, that's okay. And he's like, no, that's really dangerous. Like, you don't probably want that. She's like, no, I'll turn it to the wall. That's okay. And he was like, I insist you should not. And so I got called in, and I was like, I convinced her, like, oh, this is just not quality, the quality. I'm sure the artist did not catch this, da, da, da. And she said, well, I'll get in touch with the artist. And, I'm here from I live in Martha's Vineyard, which is a beautiful island off of Cape Cod. And I'm like, girl, you don't have one shop on Martha's Vineyard that is selling a pot with a seashell lid? No.
Oh. There used to be a lot more potteries on Martha's Vineyard. There aren't too many now.
Oh, good point. Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I'm moving. That's my 2026 plan.
Hey, I'm okay with low standards. Now that I'm older and make a living, but like for pots, like back in the day, I would give a lot of glaze advice in exchange for seconds. And so I still have what I call the Matt Katz Memorial Collection, which is hundreds of pots that I have been given for free that are definitively seconds.
Yes.
And nice pots. I've got a shivered pot by a very nice artist that lives right above our fireplace that is specifically turned backwards.
Oh, okay.
Against the wall.
Against the wall.
Well, perhaps I protest too much, and maybe I should have let that one go.
Well, let's be clear, I didn't pay for any of these.
Right. But those individuals, of course, are balanced out by people who have taken your classes with us and bringing up pieces and asking me about why this glaze is crazed and should I be selling it and da 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 da. So I'm like, oh, you can't win. You can't win. It's like all sales final. That's all I can say.
The people that are too smart, get out of here. Get out of here. No
exactly. Get it. So anyway, it was a good season. I hope everybody, all the hardworking community studios out there. Producer Ben, did you all have a sale?
Yes, we did our very first sale this year.
Nice.
And we had, I think, maybe 7 whole people come to it. And
wow.
So we started slow, but I feel like we're like re-educating our county about what handmade pots are. And we're also literally on the Jersey Shore. So they're used to coming to the shore for experiences, not really to buy art. So even though it was a small but mighty crowd. So hopefully we're going to grow, and next year it'll be a little better.
Well, I suggest seashell knobbed covered jars.
All the
coming
rage.
up. All the rage. Beachy.
We all start small. That's a great place to begin.
It's really true. It is. Awesome. All right. Well, shall we? Shall we?
We shall.
All right.
Yes, let's do it.
Excellent. Excellent. So our first question comes to us from Oliver from Los Angeles, and Oliver has a question about ashes and glazes.
Hello, this is Oliver from Los Angeles, and I'm curious about ash glazes and synthetic ash glazes. I understand that you can make ash glazes from various kinds of ashes and that some people rinse or wash the ashes, and that some people don't use actual ashes at all, but use the chemical components that would be found in ashes. So I was just wondering if there's anything in particular one should know about making and using ash glazes that maybe differs from other types of glazes, or if y'all had any tips in terms of, I don't know, hydration level or application methods or oxidation versus reduction, anything like that. I'm personally working at a Cone 10 studio, so if there are any nuances there, would also be happy to hear about them. Thanks so much.
So we're not talking about human then.
Those are pretty regulated.
Listen, it comes up. It comes
really?
up. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we hear a lot about pets, so.
Did I ever tell that story that I was approached when I was in college for a ceramic engineering professor who had this entrepreneurial idea for starting a business, and he needed a pottery student to like design pots and vases for him. And I took this meeting, and he's like, well, my idea is that we're gonna sell pottery, and it's gonna be glazed with people's pets. Oh, I think I'm good. I'm good, but great idea.
It sounds like it'd be really successful.
The funerary industry is a big one. No, but this is the plant ashes. I would assume. I mean, Oliver doesn't specify, and actually, that's an interesting one because of geography. I actually just had a really interesting experience because I taught a workshop at Gaia in Bali a couple of months ago, and they were having a real problem because of the types of wood that they have available in Bali. They were explicitly using it for the kiln because it's a highly vegetated place, but everything that they were using for their wood kiln was coffee. They called it coffee tree ash, but when you see the coffee, it's really more like a shrub or a vine, but it just was not melting. And I was never able to get a chemical analysis on it, but we took some of the ash and did some experiments that I compared with like wood ash that I get around here of sort of traditional northeastern trees, and that it just did not melt the way normal ashes work. That it just was absolutely totally refractory, right? Refractory is the opposite of a flux. But ashes do work, like they do work. Kathy, did you ever work with an ash glaze?
Oh yeah, those were super popular back in the day. And I remember being in New York City at the 92nd Street Y. They had a lot of ash glazes there, and I don't see them as often in community studios. We don't have one right now, but people are always trying to sprinkle a little something on pots going into the kiln.
Yeah. Well, they if not calculated and applied properly, they can be super runny and they can like absolutely ruin your kiln shelves. And so it takes a deft hand. I always have to bring up maybe my absolute single favorite potter. No offense to Kathy, but Ellen Shankin is awesome. A potter.
Yeah.
She just knows how to use form and glaze, and she's using fake ash glazes, which Oliver was talking about. And it just so beautifully works against these geometric forms and really, really good combinations of shape and surface. But plant ashes are totally ceramic materials. Like, I mean, that's the short version of them.
But you have to be careful in your handling.
Yes.
I mean, because you're producing lye, and that's caustic. That's a good way to lose a layer of your skin.
Yeah. And so, what Rose is talking about is the big problem is that, there's two ways of getting ash onto a pot. If we're talking about natural wood ashes, is that one, wood kilns. That's what wood kilns do. They burn the tree to make the heat, but then the ash is allowed to continue from the chamber into the pots, and then it builds up. And it's the ashes. It's silicon, aluminum, calcium, and sodium. Like that's literally what's in the ashes. And that's why you can glaze, quote unquote, in a wood ash firing. The problem with wood ash firings is that you need to get enough ash buildup on your pots to cover it completely. And that's really hard. And much less the temperatures in wood kilns sort of fluctuate up and down. So it's harder to get them to melt and all that. The other way is you can just take ash of just plain old fire. Like Rose and I have a wood stove, and we collect our wood ashes, and, we'll use them in the studio.
Yeah, we've got so much that we're not collecting them anymore.
That's true. The last one went on the wood pile, on the burn pile out in the backyard. But the definite thing to know if you are using wood ash as a material is what type of wood you're using. Every single tree out there has different chemistry. So going back to the coffee wood, that material, I think, was so much silicon alumina and so little flux, it was not melting. Up here with our wood, it's a bunch of beech and oak,
ash, oak, birch is a big one.
Maple,
yeah. Although maple's kind of a lower BTU, it's not great for firewood.
Rose is a
maple's for
firewood
syrup.
hunter.
She's a firewood expert. Okay.
No, I would not say an expert. No, I just know what burns better in my wood stove.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a hunter for quality.
Because wood firers, they pay a lot of attention to what kind of wood is going into the kilns, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They'll commonly just get one. If they are obsessive, they will get one type of wood for their entire process. And so everybody's got their preference as to what works, because it's the trees, it's the time of year they were harvested, it's
how
the
seasoned they are, all that stuff.
The seasoning is a really big deal.
Yeah. If they're kiln dried, if they're seasoned more than a year, there's all kinds of different. If it's green.
Yeah. When you're using just the burned ash, obviously it still matters what you use, but now you can just mix it up as a glaze. What Rose was talking about it being caustic, though, is that there is soluble alkali metals, hydroxides, in the ash. And what that means is when you mix it with water, it turns highly alkaline in that water. And that is corrosive. Like, people think about corrosive things being acids, but alkaline things are much more corrosive. And one of the crazy things, if you've worked with wood ash glazes, is like your hands will feel super soft afterwards. And that's because it's literally eating away
your flesh. Yeah.
Not great.
And it's nice and soft. And then you peel off a layer of your skin and it's still soft.
That's okay. We are all old enough. Do you guys remember that commercial where they would like show the ladies like soaking their hands in the soap as like a manicure treatment? They'd be like, my hands are so soft. Yeah, because literally you're peeling away dead skin like a horror movie.
Calgon, take me away.
But you can treat your real wood ashes to get rid of it, and that's called washing. It's pretty easy. Put on gloves, take your ashes, mix them with water, and then let it sit. Let the ashes settle, and then decant the water. And you're going to want to do that 2 or 3 times to get rid of all that caustic, generally sodium. And actually, the cool thing is when you wash your ashes, you get a much more of the rivulating effect that most people associate with wood ash, which is sort of the running.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Washed ash will give you much better rivulating than unwashed ash.
Okay.
The thing, though, is, as Oliver was mentioning, is that there is also fake wood ash. And Ellen Schenken, the maestra, mostly uses fake wood ash. Fake wood ash is hilarious because fake wood ash is using the regular materials in the glaze lab. And it's generally going to be like calcium and kaolin and silica. But literally, when you look at the chemistry, like of the real wood ash and the fake wood ash glazes, they actually have exactly the same chemistry. Like, they are molecule for molecule the same. It's just one comes from burning this plant and one comes from combining whiting and kaolin and silica. And so they do it. I tend to like the fake wood ashes more because you can control the chemistry. Like, you can manipulate it. You can use a different alkaline flux. You can get different colorants and all of that type of thing in there and different reactions.
And you're not a slave to what type of wood you used.
Yes. And they're consistent, because like the other thing to note, if you're using like even the wood ash from us, like the batch we have now will be different from, we got wood from a new supplier for this winter. So like when we use that for ash in the studio, it's going to be different. Like, it's definitely going to be different. And so having that level of consistency with the fake wood ash is better. Again, people want to act like there's more conceptual purity in the real wood versus the fake wood. Like, fine, whatever. But chemically, like it is exactly the same. And so it really does depend on how you use it. and what you want to do with it. The last thing that I will say though is that that people, that even the term fake wood ash and real wood ash, that because the real wood ash is just a naturally occurring material, you can totally use it and manipulate the glaze like you would any other glaze. And we've done a ton of testing with that, where you can sort of add silicon alumina and move it around Stahl's map and get it to go matte and get it to go glossy and get it to stop rivulating and enhance the rivulating. So it is just basic chemistry, even with natural wood ash. It's just, you're just left with the chaos of like what the original material is.
Chaos. So chaotic.
Wow, Rose, where'd that go? It's like you had been lulled into a state of deep relaxation, listening to your husband wax on about different wax.
She'd been sent to sleep.
Yeah, I think I was like sleeping with my eyes open. I might have been a little bit.
Oh my God. Today's episode is brought to you by the Rosenfield Collection of Functional Ceramic Art. The collection exists as an online source for research and inspiration, featuring photos of thousands of objects made by over 800 artists. The images are high quality and can be used with no permission required. To find out more, visit www.rosenfieldcollection.com.
Glazes don't make sense, but that's why Rose and I are here at ceramicmaterialsworkshop.com, helping translate glazes for real ceramicists like you. So join us for our brand new class starting October 1st. For everyone from beginners to masters, we clear up all the mysteries of glazes to make them work for you. Join us at ceramicmaterialsworkshop.com for making glazes make sense.
All right, let's go on to our next question, which comes from Jackie from Oak Park, Illinois, California. I don't know. All right. Jackie from Oak Park has a question, and we get this quite a bit, but about brushing glazes. So let's get to it.
Hi, Matt and Rose. This is Jackie from Oak Park with a question for you about brushing versus dipping glazes. Someone at my community studio mentioned that they read in an online glaze forum that you shouldn't mix brushing glazes with dipping glazes, as it can lead to trouble with various glaze flaws. Assuming we're talking about the same commercial glaze that comes, say, in a pint jar for brushing and as a dry glaze for dipping, is that true? It smells fishy to me. What do you think? Thanks for weighing in. I'm a huge fan.
Okay. So if I may comment, everybody in the glaze room is an expert on something. Now, she said she read it on an online forum, which is a little bit different, but it is amazing, like what I hear. And there's a kernel of, I don't know what you're going to answer, but there's a kernel of truth to it. But, it's like, does it create glaze flaws? I don't know. Take it away.
Okay. Where do you start, right?
Well, I mean, I've been...
Well, Kathy said it exactly right. Like the kernel of truth is there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I could see why they would think that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I can just feel in my bones like what people on the ceramic internet forums are, and say this all the time of like, we're people that make our livings on the ceramics internet.
Nerd. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, no doubt about that at all.
No, I'm married to one too, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just that, like you say, if everybody's an expert on the internet, and it's not even a ceramics thing, it's the whole problem with our society of everybody going around throwing their expertise around. But it's not right, but it's not wrong. And I mean, I guess, that's the bigger question of, sort of, you work in a public studio where probably some people are trying to sneak in commercial glazes, and you work with commercial glazes and maybe some handmade glazes. Have you ever found a problem, Kathy?
Well, no, I mean, I welcome people bringing in commercial glazes. I can't afford to provide them for our studio. But, if you're going to give my glaze mixers a break from having to nonstop, mix ice blue Celadon, then great. But I wouldn't want them dumping the paint into anything or mixing them. But on the pot itself, sure, it's just about knowing how to apply. We do talk about, trying to make a glaze in a bucket act like that pint of commercial glazes. And then that's going to involve altering it, which is what I do, adding a gum to the glaze so that it makes brushable. And we don't want everybody doing that and then dumping that back in. But
yeah.
And Rose, do you have any history using commercial glazes?
I mean, very little. Very little. I mean, I think I've tried it here and there, but that's about it.
They're amazing now. I mean, it's crazy what they do.
Yeah, Rose came from a more hardcore studio from the start. Like I used them early on in high school because my studio just had the commercial glazes. But when I went to college, it moved away. But yeah, they're commercial glazes. Nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly serviceable. Because they work well. Like that's the whole thing about commercial glaze, that they're made to work well. The catches is how they work well and why they work well, which is sort of the basis of what Jackie is asking, which is commercial glazes chemically are the same thing as the dipping glazes, the handmade glazes. Chemically, there is nothing different about them. The thing that they do is that they're adding in brushing agents, and that brushing agent is 90% of it is CMC, and CMC is a material you might see in some recipes if you use it, but if you're generally just making up buckets for dipping or spraying, you commonly don't use it because you don't need it.
Yeah, and you don't want to use that for spraying because it gums up your spray gun.
Terrible.
Yeah, it'll just cake everything up because it hardens real well, which is good for a commercial glaze, that the actual application gets really hard. So it's kind of hard to mess up when you're moving from the application stage to the kiln. But the CMC is it's called a brushing agent. I don't like to think of it that way. I like to think of it as a water retention agent. It keeps the bisqueware from drawing that water in very quickly, which is why your dipping glazes just like dry instantly, because the water gets sucked into the bisqueware. And when you have a brushing glaze, you don't want that. And probably everybody's experienced it when they've tried to brush their quote unquote dipping glazes, that they just don't brush because the bisqueware just draws all the water in and it dries instantly. Well, the CMC keeps the water in the physical glaze so you can keep brushing and brushing and brushing and get it super smooth. Would I want a ton of CMC in my dipping glazes? Well, I should say it's CMC, and then there's usually some bentonite, and then there's usually a fungicide, which is because CMC rots, so they'll put in fungicides to keep them from rotting. But that's usually what most brushing media is. Would I want it in my dipping glazes?
No, it's just an added cost. It's not adding any benefit to your working properties at all. So it's just an added cost that you're kind of thrown away.
Yeah, that's not wrong. I'm just trying to think of like, is it horribly detrimental if it did? Like,
no, it's like I've added CMC to glazes to try to get it to do different effects, but it just doesn't play a part in your application.
It's just goo. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
No, when you mix CMC with water, it just turns to slime.
Yeah.
Yes, thank goodness. That's awesome.
That's what we're using it for. We like the slime.
And with anything, it's like, I adding mine to my translucent glazes, I just over time know exactly how much to put in and how much to apply to the pot. I wanted to mention, for those that are spraying, though, it is possible to spray them. It's just watering them down. And we have an amazing artist in resident at Harvard Ceramics, Chenlao Hao, sorry. Ugh, cut that. But Lulu's amazing. She does all these sprayed sculptures with underglaze. And so she's just watering those down, and she uses the whole velvet line of underglazes.
Yeah, it's just like if you get it too thick, your gun is impossible to clean. It's not fun. I've done that.
Yeah, absolutely. And but along with Jackie's question, she's also talking about, sort of applying them and getting different flaws. You definitely can get flaws from that because they are going to physically particle pack on the bisqueware differently.
Yeah. So it's really an application issue. It's not that the glazes are so different. It's your application is different.
We talked about something similar when we talked about underglazes a while back, and we were talking about how like a lot of times glazes don't coat well on underglazes. Well, that's because those underglazes have CMC in them, and that it is going to restrict the absorption of the glaze from the water from the glaze you're trying to put on top of it. So your exposed naked bisqueware will have an absorption rate of like 15, and then your underglaze will have an absorption rate of 8. And it just like literally does not pull as much glaze to the surface. So you get a super thin coating on your underglaze. And so it can make things go really funky like that. So it's the same thing as like if you say put down a brushing glaze and then you try to dip on top of that, like try to line them up 50-50, you're probably going to get a really bad application where it's trying to apply over the brushing glaze and over the bisqueware. And so it definitely can be tricky. Is it impossible?
If you're layering on top of them, that's your added thickness. That's an application problem again. So you can create glaze flaws that way.
Does that mean it absolutely is going to happen? No. If you experiment with it, you probably can master the application between the two. Is it the worst thing in the world? No. But yeah, it's not ideal. It's definitely not the way I would do it. But like, is it the worst thing to do? No, you can totally do it, but I would definitely experiment with it and make sure you know that the application is going to be successful.
Well, all right. Well, I think we have time for one more because we want to start the new year with a sense of pride, don't you think? Okay.
Yes,
so
definitely.
let's do this. So our final question comes from Pirkita from Finland. I hope that's right. And they would like to know about colorants.
Hello, my name is Birgitta. I am sending a message from Finland, and I'm curious about mesh size and size of particles of colorants. I've written down in my notebook years and years and years ago about iron oxide that you should use at least 100 mesh sieve, maybe even 120 mesh when making a glaze that has iron oxide, because it is such a small particle. Especially if you're making a celadon glaze, you want it to be even and not have freckles on the surface of the piece. But how about other colorants like copper, cobalt, chrome, etc.? Is there like a rule of thumb for a successful glaze with these colorants when it comes to mesh size? Very curious to know. Thank you very much. Bye.
I don't know the answer to this, so this is exciting. Okay.
I mean, I think there's different mesh sizes of certain colorants. Not all of them per se come in different mesh sizes, though. I mean, the ones I'm thinking of are like manganese, ilmenite. Like I've never seen a granular rutile. Have you?
I have.
You have?
I'm old though. We used to use it back in the pioneer days.
Wagon days.
Is that when you had all the hipster memes of somebody throwing on a wagon wheel and another kid spinning it as fast as possible, doing it sideways? Well, Rose, as always, is exactly right. At least here in the States, most of our colorants, the only mesh size control we have is larger, not smaller.
Yeah.
So certain ingredients, ilmenite, manganese are the two you'll see most commonly. Rutile I have seen before, but as Rose says, it's not common. But most of those, they're meant to be chunky. So like granular manganese, you'll add into like a cone 6 clay body to make it spotty. Because there's an effect we call spotty body that can happen in stonewares with high fire clay content and reduction, but people like the look, so they want to fake it in cone 6 oxidation. So if you mix in granular manganese, it'll do that. There are occasionally materials, manganese on the opposite end. Through our consulting work, we have seen the ability to buy different mesh sizes of manganese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, huge array of different mesh sizes, but you don't see it in the ceramic supply world very often.
No, you just generally go to the store and you're like, this is your manganese, here you go. And that's pretty much the case for all of the colorants. But what Pritka is saying is dead on accurate for the iron. And iron is an interesting one, but it's not actually the mesh size. Mesh size is not the problem with iron. The issue with iron is that iron likes to agglomerate, which is like it sticks together in little chunklets. So even though the particles are small,
that's your vocab word for the day. We need to start that. Agglomerate. Okay, great.
So they will make little chunks, and they can be a big problem. And certain materials are worse at it. Certain forms of iron. So red iron oxide tends to not be that bad. But black iron oxide, if not mixed well, can totally make agglomerates.
Oh my gosh, I hate mixing with that one.
Oh God, the trauma, Rose, the trauma.
Yeah. There's like certain color. It's just like, I can't get it to not stick together. Like you pass it through like sieves twice and it's still clumpy. It's just a mess. Yeah.
Because iron does agglomerate, sieves really, one thing I do firmly believe is that sieves are there to catch agglomerates. People think that it mixes better, whatever. It does not. All sieves do is to catch agglomerates. It's not like catching bigger particles, because 100 mesh sieve, every particle size we're using in a glaze is under 100 mesh. It's not about stopping large materials from getting through. It's trying to break up agglomerates. And you can do it through sieving, or we tend to do it through more intense, faster mixers. And so you can do one, you can do both, but we actually don't sieve a lot in the workshop. We tend to just have very intense mixers.
High velocity shearing.
High velocity shearing.
Mm-hmm. Something sheep don't like.
Well, if you go too fast, you might get them in the wrong place. The Celadon thing, though, that she was talking about actually is really true. And one thing I will say about iron is that Celadons, especially the traditional Chinese Celadons, that light blue Celadon, need such a small amount of iron. It's generally about 0.5% iron, that small amount needs to be distributed evenly to get the homogeneous color and to really get it sort of that jewel tone blue. And actually, the best trick I have learned from people over the years is oftentimes you'll see Celadon recipes that'll use a terracotta clay as an ingredient. So you'll see in the States here, red art is the classic one. So you see red art as an ingredient, and then there won't be a colorant. Well, the secret is the red art is the colorant, that they are using that red clay because the iron particles inside that red clay are so small and then get really evenly distributed. So in fact, using those high iron clays as a colorant does work. Yellow ochre is the same thing. Yellow ochre is a yellow iron oxide bearing clay. And so it just gives you much better homogenization of the color. But it, like we're saying, it's more of just an iron problem.
Those two are air floated too. So they're processed differently and they're really fine particle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just going to give you a better mix. But mesh sizes, all in all, no, we don't have a ton of control over it. When I have played with them before, things like different mesh size manganese, it does make a difference for some of the fake bronzes and some manganese crystalline glazes and stuff like that. But really, at the end of the day, it's more about the mix than anything than the particle size.
Well, I think that if anybody needs a party idea, they should play this episode and take a shot every time the word agglomerate is mentioned. But y'all, that is all the time we have until I see you here or on our Patreon. Farewell, Matt and Rose.
See you, Kathy.
See you on Patreon, everybody.
Well, folks, that's it for this week's episode of For Flux Sake. I'd like to thank the listeners who submitted questions this week. And if you want your question answered on the show, shoot us an email at forfluxsakepodcast@gmail.com. So join us next time. And when in your studio, remember what Rose always says.
Always remember to test, test, test. This is a test of the emergency glaze system. Beep. Hey, Hey, for Flux Sake friends, wish you could hang with us a little more each month? Well, you can come join us at our For Flux Sake fan club on Patreon. You'll get discounts on our new merch, chances to chat with us during live hangouts, and extra episodes just for you. Find us at patreon.com/For Flux Sake podcast. We'd love to see you there.